Welcome, everybody, into this edition of ESPN FC. Alongside Craig Burley, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Just about 24 hours into the summer transfer window across most of Europe, which means the action is truly starting to heat up. Craig, let's start with a case of Josko Gvardiol, the Croatian defender who had a great tournament at the World Cup, now linked with a move to Manchester City from RB Leipzig. Here's what Leipzig's director of sport had to say. Gvardiol and his agents gave us their desire to move to Manchester City. We are in talks with City, yes. For 100 million plus bonuses, Gvardiol will end up in Pep's strong hands. The value of the deal would make Gvardiol the most expensive defender in history, but it might take a few more days. We don't have a few more days. We need to get to the bottom of it right now. So we call on Frank Leboeuf and Gab Marcotti. Gab, just how close a deal is this?
Well, I think when you have a guy like speaking as freely and openly as Max Eberl speaks, I think it tells you that the deal is imminent. You know, he comes out, he actually gives you a number. I'm sure City will try to negotiate this down a little bit, but you know, Gvardiol's been linked with Manchester City for a long time, and not just because of the unusual assonance between his name and that of the City manager. So I don't even see other teams being involved and competing at this level. It is a ton of money for a defender, but if you look at his age, you look at his profile, I think City feel that they can justify that, and I would agree.
Frank, it is a lot of money. Is he good enough to start for Manchester City? They got a ton of center backs. Frank?
You are paid like 100 million that you deserve to play. You will play because you're under pressure and you want to pay back. But we know Manchester City, we know Guardiola, and we know what happened to Grealish last season, where it took some time for him to settle down, and because he wasn't good enough, he was even on the bench. And this season showed the talent of Grealish and his patience, and that's only fair. So I think for Guardiola might be the same, where at some point he won't start, because when you have Akanji and Diaz as centre backs, you don't really need a Guardiola right now. But you might need a Gvardiol next season, and you might need a Gvardiol for some other competition than the Champions League and the Premier League. And so he will test him at some point, and little by little impose him. And after maybe a year, he will become a recurrent centre back. It's how Guardiola works, and I think it would be the same kind of situation with Guardiola.
Everybody talks about John Stones from last season, and rightly so. He did this hybrid, amazing job, really. But people forget, and I've talked about Akanji on here quite a lot, and he did a terrific job last year. And I didn't pay a lot of money for him, and he really cut down the errors from his time at Dortmund. Did a great job on the right side and on the left side. But let's not forget, we're talking about Gvardiol coming in here, and he is an excellent player. There's no doubt about that. He fits all the correct profile for spending a lot of money, as Gab said. He's a younger player, super talented, great experience already. But I go back to don't forget, Guardiola actually likes Nathan Ake as well. He played, this is a guy that he trusted to play in the Champions League final. You saw the appearances there. He played a lot of games during the season. So that's good competition for places if we believe that Aymeric Laporte, they might...
Seems like he's out.
They might offload him at some point, get some money back if they get the right deal and get some takers. Obviously, Kyle Walker's not a centre-half, but they've played in that position. There's been talk about him potentially going. We'll see what happens on that front. So it makes sense, and it just, once again, strengthens a position that became very important to City. Everybody talking about the Haaland goals, and I suppose rightly so, but one of the things that shouldn't be missed last year was that during their period where they faltered in the Champions League, either the final or the semi-finals or the quarter-finals, because they were making defensive errors, they've addressed that. They addressed that particularly last year. Yes, they changed formation, but they were rock solid, Seb. They were, well, you know, not all the time, but they defensively last year, even though Stones was flirting between full-back and midfield and centre-back and midfield, they were super strong at the back, and that gave them the foundation with Rodri in front to go and showcase the talent that we know they have.
I mean, to that point, if you were in Pep Guardiola's shoes and you had this huge bullet to spend, is that where you would have done? Because, I mean, they had 4 center backs that he felt were good enough to start a Champions League final, even if it was out of position. So, I mean...
But he's rotating, isn't he? I mean, he's brought...
is that the best way to make City better right now?
Well, he thinks so, and he won a treble last year. So it's like...
We're beyond question.
I think...
Seb,
Go on, Frank.
sorry, guys, to interrupt you, but sorry to interrupt you. I think it's not only what you have in the present time. I think Guardiola sees in the future, and every signing that he makes, he thinks about the future. Even if he won't be part of it, he knows that Gvardiol can serve the club for 10 years. So yeah, 100 million seems to be a lot. But divided by 10, it's only 10 million a year, and it's something Manchester City can afford. And you have to think about that. If Laporte doesn't go well, okay, he can go, and now we have Gvardiol. But if Akanji is not working well, or Diaz, or maybe Stones, I have the possibility to change and still be at the top of the top. That's what he wants to be and stay. Make sure that he can double or triple the positioning, because remember, at some point they had some injuries and they were struggling. And maybe sometime Walker or even Ake had to play at centre-back. So he doesn't want to make that error anymore. He wants to make sure that he's settled, especially in the position of the spine, where it's very important to be structured and to be strong. And of course, Gvardiol represents maybe the present, but for sure the future.
Go on, Gab.
No, I was going to say, look, we can talk about how these center backs perform in the Pep system, and Akanji is a great example of a guy who got a lot better under Pep. Nathan Ake as well when he plays, but there's also the player taken as an individual, and if you just look at Josko Gvardiol as an individual, in my mind at least, he is considerably better than any center back that City have, and that includes Ruben Diaz. So, I think if he doesn't start straight away, it might be because he wants to settle into Pep wants him to settle into the system, the hybrid system, the 3-2-4-1, whatever it is. But he's there for a very evident reason. Don't forget Kyle Walker, obviously 32 now. His contract is winding down. João Cancelo, I don't think we'll see him in a City shirt again. So, you need numbers back there. For all the money that City have spent and whatever else people talk about, this is not an enormous squad that they have, especially at the back. We've seen Rico Lewis play back there at right back at times. So I think Gvardiol is, whether Laporte stays or goes, and I assume he's going to go because Pep doesn't seem to rate him anymore. This was a signing I think they absolutely had to make.
Considerably better, Craig, you think, than the other guys, like Gab said? And we saw him at the World Cup.
I thought he was brilliant at the World Cup, but I did see him for Leipzig a few times, and I was like, I think his performances after the World Cup were, for me anyway, slightly below the standard that we saw in Qatar. But look, sometimes that can happen. I'm a big fan of Diaz, and I thought what Akanji did, how Akanji performed last year, both with and without the ball, was brilliant. But look, we go back to is this, in terms of the position, unless they somehow were to lose as the transfer window move forward, Bernardo Silva and Riyad Mahrez, and particularly Mahrez, one or two players that are now seem to be on the fringes. Bernardo Silva not so much because he was excellent last year, but there does always seem to be a summer where we're talking about him leaving. But yet he's done such a great job, and he seems to have such a great relationship with the coach, whether it's just that he's got in his head, a bit like Gundogan, that eventually he wants to try and go and play somewhere else in a different country. Maybe that's what it is. And I think if they were to lose these players, the guys that are coming off the bench in particular, Mahrez for a long period was nailed on for a spot in the team, and has generally, after his initial period at City, done a brilliant job. He's a game changer. So if you lose that off the bench, and maybe Grealish starts to have a bit of a tougher time again, or Kevin De Bruyne goes through a period like he did last year when he looked a bit heavy-legged around the Christmas mark, you need that squad. But at the moment, Sebi, they have those replacements. Obviously, that could change within the window, but clearly they think they need to go and buy Gvardiol And not just to make them better, but before somebody else goes and buys them.
Yeah.